atelophobia. That's quite a word. I don't think there'll be a perfect time. So, start. That's the solution. Start. Just start. In the long run, you would wish you had started soon enough. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine if whatever you're wanting to start, you're not getting it all right at the first time. Can I just say this so we all, can breathe in and breathe out? Mistake is a part of the process. It's not a part. It's not something that we're not going to experience. You'd make mistakes.
Designstration.
This episode is brought to you by UDC. Hello everyone, you're welcome to another episode on the Designstration Podcast with Ufot Ubon. Actually, I think we should not be saying hello everyone, we should say hello Designstrators, because Designstration Podcast is for designers, illustrators, developers, basically creatives in general. That's true. That reminds me, we've not interviewed a developer. I think a developer, okay. We'll have to plan that. So I want to start a new series on the podcast where we talk about mistakes. The series will be titled Making Mistakes. The fear of mistake. Hey, let me check. Sorry, I didn't check. Just give me a minute. What's the fear of mistake called? I don't even know what's called. The phobia of mistake. Let me quickly check. Just give me a minute. This episode will be heavily centered on making mistakes, right? Because mistake sometimes has been seen as a bad thing. Well, it can be a bad thing, but what I'm trying to say is it can be seen as a taboo to actually make mistakes in our career path. Okay, atelophobia is an obsession, is an obsessive fear of imperfection. Okay, yeah. So atelophobia, that's quite a word. Atelophobia is an obsessive fear of imperfection. Someone with this condition is terrified of making mistakes. They tend to avoid any situation where they feel they won't succeed. Atelophobia can lead to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. That's straight out of Google. Now, the fear of mistakes is one of those things that is very real in our career paths, even in different things we want to do in life. Sometimes we can be scared. We can approach things with a whole lot of trepidation. Should I not? And all those things. So this series is going to be about mistakes, the mistakes that I've made and mistakes other creative have made along the line. And let's see. And I'm going to, for educational purpose, I'm going to be classifying mistakes into two different sections. One would be what I call grave mistakes. Grave mistakes are those mistakes that are very deadly that we've made over the years in our career paths. They're very deadly there. Sometimes, they probably were detrimental to the trajectory of our career. They were bad investment, whatever it may be. Whatever mistakes that we made that were very bad would fall under the category of grave mistakes. But the other mistakes would be great mistakes. And this is just me bringing about this nomenclature so that we can have a train of thoughts on where we're going. And the great mistakes would be those mistakes that we made along the line of our career, we've made that if we were actually given an opportunity to, let's say, start our career again or do our works again, we wouldn't mind making those mistakes because they somehow turned out great. So we're talking about grave mistakes and great mistakes. And again, this is me just giving these titles and these groups and categories, if you will, so that we can sort of have a train of thought on what we're doing and we just have a trajectory. All right, to keep this very simple and short, because this is like episode 1 to this particular series we're having on the podcast, it's time for a quick break. We will be right back after this break. The Untitled Designers Conference is coming up this year from the 23rd of August to the 24th of August. And you don't want to miss it. The Untitled Designers Conference is one that gives designers and creatives in general an opportunity and a forum to come together to learn, share, and network with each other. So, if you're an illustrator, UI designer, brand designer, web developer, whatever creative field you're in, you don't want to miss this year's conference. That's why the Designstration Podcast has partnered with UDC to give out 50% discount when any one of our esteemed listeners use our promo code to purchase tickets from their website. So just log down to their website in the link in the description below, and when you want to buy your ticket, the section for promo code, fill in the code UDCXDSP and you get 50% discount when buying your tickets. That's not all. The Designstration Podcast will bring in freebies for all our esteemed, dearest listeners. And we're going to be handing you freebies on the conference day. So you don't want to miss it. So log on to UDC's website to buy your ticket. The link is in the description below. You're welcome back to the conversation. One of the grave mistakes I personally made starting out was consuming without creating. Yeah, I consumed a lot of content without actually creating. I was specifically, let me even use, more importantly, I would use when I started video editing. When I wanted to start out in video production in general, I watched a lot of tutorials. A lot. If I'm not exaggerating, I actually think I watched over 100 plus videos on, how to use the software, what camera, what lenses, how to set up lighting, audio equipment, how to treat an audio, treat the room, how to edit sounds, motion graphics for videos. A lot. I watched a lot. I consumed a whole lot of content. I would even consider myself a compendium and the custodian of this knowledge because I really learned a lot. But I wasn't practicing. That's the part where it was a big mistake because it was just too much. It was like knowledge overload. And a lot of creatives would find themselves in this category where they're making these mistakes. And I want you to know it's not a great mistake to be full of knowledge that you actually should use, but you're not just using, because you don't just want to be a compendium of knowledge and the custodians of the law and you don't even practice the law, right? You don't practice what you're learning. And obviously for some, one of the reasons as to why they may not be able to practice what they are learning is probably resources to get the equipment or whatever tools they would need. But if we could also go down the list, one other reason would be for the fear of imperfection, right? Atelophobia, as we've read here. Atelophobia. Because we want it to be perfect. And that was my own case, right? I wanted things to be perfect. I wanted it to be up there. I watched tutorial. I would check out ISO, shutter speed, different things, and the video were no videoing. Like it was still bad. Confident, my goodness, sitting behind the camera and talking in front of a camera. That was hard. That was hard for me when I started. That was so hard, so hard. But you have to start. You have to practice. You have to start. I have there's an episode I shared on the podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you'd find it. I think the episode is also on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it's Start Simple and Share. You can search Designstration Podcast on, Spotify or Apple Podcast to get that podcast. Start Simple and Share. But you just have to start learning and not practicing what you've learned. It's a grave mistake. It's one of those things that in the long run, you would wish you had started soon enough. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine if whatever you're wanting to start, you're not getting it all right at the first time. Can I just say this so we all, can breathe in and breathe out? Mistake is a part of the process. It's not a part. It's not something that we're not going to experience. You'd make mistakes. The prayer should be, let's not make mistakes that will cost us something too too expensive we can't even pay for, right? Something we can't recover from. But you'd make mistakes. So yeah, for me, making the mistake I made, one of the mistakes I made rather, starting out in my career path as not just a video editor guy or maybe podcaster or illustrator or product design. So I know some say he's blowing his own. Well, I mean, I do them. So, but hey, it's basically about consuming without creating. So start. That's the solution. Start. I know it doesn't look like you're ready, but start. I don't think there'll be a perfect time. I don't think so. So just start. Start so you can always look back at the progress of, where you are, where you were rather, where you are and where you're going, and you can just calculate, the loss and see the profit. But start. You have to start. Start with what you have. Start simple and share. But start. Anyways, that's the grave mistake that I made starting out in my career. And this is not just going to be an episode, series that it will be only me talking. I'm going to invite great folks who they obviously have made a lot of great or grave mistakes, and we're going to be talking about them. But until then, I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Stay tuned to this podcast. Design plus illustration equals Designstration. I'll see you in the next episode.